at all the ways we keep it.
The 1970s were a golden age for kitchen gadgets. This was the era when inventors became convinced that every cooking task, no matter how simple, needed its own special machine. Here are 10 bizarre 1970s kitchen gadgets nobody remembers, but almost every house seemed to have. Number 1. The Veg-O-Matic Style Slicer.
Introducing Popeil's amazing Veg-O-Matic 2. New improved cutting rings make food cutting easier than ever. Saves you time by slicing whole potatoes in only one stroke. Turns whole onions into zesty, thin slices for delicious hamburgers. Slices mushrooms, tasty juliennes from sliced carrots. Turn the dial, slices are automatically thicker.
This gadget promised perfection. Perfect fries, perfect vegetables, perfect salads, perfect slices every single time. At least that's what the commercials said. The idea was simple. Press your vegetables through a grid of blades and watch them come out evenly chopped, like something from a restaurant kitchen. When it worked, it really did feel impressive. But there was always that one ingredient that ruined everything. Tomatoes would collapse, onions would jam. Potatoes sometimes required more strength than anyone expected. Still, these slicers lived in kitchens everywhere. The promise of instant perfect vegetables was just too tempting. Number 2. The Electric Carving Knife.
They know cuts should be consistently smooth and even, that each portion should look tender and appetizing.
That's why I use the new Hamilton Beach commercial electric knife.
The electric carving knife was one of those kitchen gadgets that felt incredibly advanced at the time. It usually lived tucked away in a long plastic case somewhere in the kitchen cabinet, and most of the year nobody even thought about it. But when a big dinner was coming, Thanksgiving, Christmas, or a family gathering, someone would suddenly say, "Where's the electric knife?" The moment it turned on, the whole kitchen heard it. That distinctive buzzing sound filled the room as the two serrated blades began moving back and forth at lightning speed. It didn't look like any knife people had used before. It looked like something from a science fiction movie. Adults loved how cleanly it sliced through a turkey or ham. Thick cuts suddenly became perfectly even slices, and it felt like a professional kitchen tool had arrived in an ordinary home. Kids, of course, were fascinated by it for a completely different reason. To a child watching from across the kitchen, the electric carving knife looked wildly dangerous, like a small chainsaw designed for dinner. Parents made it very clear that this was not a toy, which only made it more interesting. Despite that intimidating buzz, the knife became a holiday tradition in many homes. The sound alone meant something special was happening in the kitchen, and dinner was almost ready. And once the carving was done, the knife went right back into its case, where it would quietly wait until the next big meal brought it out again. Number 3. The Hand Crank Ice Crusher. This gadget usually started life as a bar tool, but somehow migrated into the kitchen. It clamped onto the counter and chewed through ice cubes with a loud grinding sound that felt oddly satisfying. Suddenly, drinks looked fancier. Even something simple like Kool-Aid over crushed ice felt like it came from a restaurant. The process wasn't quiet. The machine sounded like gravel going through a tiny rock crusher. But somehow, that noise made the moment feel official. Number 4. The Electric Can Opener with the Magnet.
Ever think about what your can opener goes through? Well, ours goes through the dishwasher. Pop out the module, pop it in the dishwasher. The Pop and Clean Electric Can Opener.
At some point, someone decided opening cans by hand was simply too much work. So, along came the electric can opener. You'd place the can under the blade, flip the switch, and watch it spin automatically. But the most impressive feature wasn't the cutting, it was the little magnet. When the lid finally popped off, the magnet would catch it before it fell inside the food. To a kid watching this happen, it felt like space-age technology, even if the edges were still a little jagged sometimes. Number 5. The Corn Butterer. Corn on the cob was already messy. Naturally, someone decided the solution was a gadget. The corn butterer was basically a plastic tunnel you pushed the corn through, coating it with butter from every angle. In theory, it created perfectly glossy corn like something you'd see in a food magazine. In reality, it mostly guaranteed butter everywhere. Butter on your hands, butter on your sleeves, butter on the counter, possibly butter on the dog if it walked by at the wrong time. Still, the corn looked amazing. If you enjoy rediscovering the strange and wonderful things people used every day in the past, make sure you subscribe here on YouTube and follow me on Facebook. I post new nostalgia videos every week, and chances are one of them will remind you of something you completely forgot about. Number 6. The salad spinner.
Meats keep meatier, beats keep beatier, chips keep chippier, dips keep dippier. Tupperware freshness, that's our promise. Look at all the ways we keep it.
Come to a Tupperware party and see all the new ways you can lock in freshness.
Beans, greens, cheese, teas.
At first glance, the salad spinner looked a little ridiculous. It was big, round, and usually made of clear plastic, so you could see everything happening inside. The lid had a crank or pull mechanism on top, and the whole thing looked less like a kitchen tool and more like some kind of toy spaceship sitting on the counter.
This is Tupperware, the airtight plastic containers that keep good foods fresher, longer. Here's how. Put in the food, put on the patented Tupperware seal, then press down the center of the seal and lift a little at one side. Hear that whisper? That's Tupperware's airtight promise to keep foods flavor fresh. Tupperware comes in all shapes.
Which is probably why kids were immediately curious about it. The idea behind it was simple. Washing lettuce leaves left them dripping wet, and wet lettuce meant soggy salad. So instead of patting every leaf dry with a towel, you tossed the lettuce into the spinner, snapped the lid on, and started turning the crank. Then the magic happened. The basket inside would start spinning faster and faster, and suddenly droplets of water flew off the lettuce leaves and collected around the sides of the bowl. When you opened the lid, there was often a surprising little lake of water sitting at the bottom, and the lettuce? Dry, crisp, ready for dressing. It felt oddly satisfying, like watching a tiny science experiment happen right there on the kitchen counter. Even people who thought the gadget looked unnecessary usually changed their minds after seeing how much water it actually pulled out. Number 7. The Hamburger Patty Press. This gadget promised burgers that looked perfectly uniform. Just drop in the ground beef, press the lid, and out came a perfectly round patty like something from a diner grill. At least that was the plan. In practice, the meat sometimes stuck, edges crumbled, and cleanup took longer than just shaping the burger by hand. Still, the idea of professional-looking burgers at home was appealing enough that these little presses appeared in kitchens everywhere. Number 8. The Instant Egg Poacher Insert.
Good news from Oster!
Meet the good eggs from Oster, made perfect every time in Oster's automatic egg cooker. Up to 8 at once, hard, medium, or soft cooked, or poaches up to 4 at a time. Precise heat control is the secret, and the light signals when they're ready. The Oster Automatic Egg Cooker, something all egg lovers will delight in. Almost all egg lovers. At better stores everywhere.
Egg poachers were one of those gadgets that looked like they belonged on a spaceship. It was a metal insert with small cups that sat inside a pan. Crack eggs into the cups, add water, and suddenly your frying pan became a tiny egg factory. The results were interesting.
Egg Genie, the automatic egg cooker that cooks perfect soft-boiled, medium-boiled, or hard-boiled eggs every time. Don't lug that heavy pot of water. With Egg Genie, just fill the measuring beaker with water to level and pour in base. Then pierce eggs with piercing pin. Place up to 7 eggs a unit and cover.
The eggs came out neatly shaped, which was impressive, but sometimes they were slightly rubbery, slightly wobbly, and always a little mysterious. Even so, the process felt clever, like you had discovered a secret breakfast technology. Number 9. The Manual Dial Kitchen Timer. This gadget wasn't strange until you remember the sound. You'd twist the dial and the timer began its dramatic countdown. Tick, tick, tick. Ticking loud enough to echo across the kitchen. It kept everyone aware that something important was happening in the oven. And when the time finally ran out, the bell rang so loudly it could startle people in the next room. Tiny device, enormous personality, and now I want to hear from you. Which of these kitchen gadgets do you remember seeing, or maybe even using? Tell me in the comments, because chances are someone else remembers the exact same thing sitting on their kitchen counter. Number 10. The electric fondue pot. Nothing felt more like a 1970s dinner party than a fondue pot. Friends gathered around the table with long forks, dipping bread into cheese or fruit into chocolate. It wasn't just dinner, it was an event. The avocado green electric fondue pot sat proudly in the center of the table like a tiny cooking campfire. Of course, afterward, someone had to clean it, and the smell of oil sometimes lingered for days. But for a brief moment, every fondue night felt like the most exciting meal in the world. Looking back, many of these gadgets seem a little unnecessary. After all, people had been slicing vegetables, opening cans, and buttering corn for generations without special equipment. But the 1970s loved the idea that technology could improve everyday life, even the smallest tasks in the kitchen. Some gadgets disappeared, some quietly stuck around, and some are probably still hiding in the back of a drawer somewhere right now. Everything I featured today is linked in the description below. Go check it out. If this took you back, click the one on your screen. It's all the kitchen gadgets nobody remembers.